Any doubts you have? You have any doubts? We have to start a fresh topic today, isn't it? We have to start inflation. Sorry? Offshore funds are funds set up generally by NRIs, because they have written offshore funds and overseas corporate bodies. These OCBs are generally set up by NRIs because they can't invest as individuals. They invest in terms of through some organization or body that they would have set up. That's a very, very insignificant route because main is FIIs. Okay? Okay, for a layman, as a layman, if I ask you, what is inflation? What shall be your answer? Rise in general price level. What is that general price? General means? What does the word general mean? General means?
The entire territory of the country or like the commodities in a country which generally exist. Their price level rises.
No, general means a large number of goods and services. Average, you call it. So, it's like saying that in a country there are two commodities, A and B. Correct? Price of A may rise by 25% over a certain period. Price of B may rise by 15%. If you have to calculate rate of inflation, you would say 25 plus 15 upon 2, which means the rate of inflation would be 25% plus 15% upon 2 means 20%. Average. So, general price level means prices of a large number of goods and services. Okay? So, first let's take a look at there are quite a few subheads under which you have to comprehensively exhaust our understanding of inflation. So, first take a look at the subheads. What are the subheads under which we will finish every aspect of what you should have learnt about inflation. The first subhead is definition. How we define inflation. Second subhead, this is the most important. Have you read today's newspapers? What have you read? 4.25% retail inflation. Generally between 10th and 15th of every month, I said 10th, 15th of every month, you get figures of retail inflation, which is called CPI, consumer price, and WPI, wholesale inflation. Today, when I go back in the evening and switch on CNBC TV, which is predominantly economics, I might get that on WPI also. 10th and 15th, you get both. So, the most important thing for those preparing for civil services is to understand how we measure inflation in India. So, your second subhead should be measurement of inflation in India. Sorry? Measurement of inflation in India. Third subhead, causes of inflation. Fourth, Measures adopted to control inflation. Measures adopted to control inflation. In today's newspaper, any newspaper, one very important measure is given, which we often discuss. Anyway, you have read newspaper today? Sure? A very, very important news item, which is headlines in newspapers, that after 15 years, government has issued directives for wholesalers and traders that how much stock they are allowed to hold of wheat. And if you read through, you will find this is being done to tame prices of wheat, which have gone up by close to 9% in recent months. If you have not read, back home, please read. Every newspaper has given bold headlines. All right? Okay. So, we'll take a look at a large number of measures. This is just one of them, which are adopted in India to tame inflation. Okay? 5. Next subhead would be inflation targeting. I should be capital, T should be capital. 6 subhead. Phillips curve. Phillips curve. Sorry? This curve was given by A.W. Phillips. What was he saying? You will 7. Sorry? 7. 7 subhead. Various concepts related to inflation. Like disinflation, comma deflation, comma reflation, comma stagflation, comma core inflation, galloping inflation, spelling, I don't know English, galloping inflation, GALLOPING, galloping inflation, and hyperinflation, not hypertension. Some of you give me hypertension when you ask me about spellings. And last subhead, consequences of inflation. Once you have done all these, you are the king, because you would have finished everything. So let's start with the definition. Please write. Inflation is a situation characterized by inflation is a situation characterized by a sustained and unchecked rise in the general price level, word general must be written, in the general price level observed over a period of time. This is the best, most acceptable definition. In this definition, there are three things to be underlined. First, sustained and unchecked. Sustained and unchecked. Two, general price level. And the third one, over a period of time. When you say over a period of time, this means if prices rise today, but they don't rise tomorrow, they rise the day after, again they don't rise, you may not call it inflation. This is the, as I said, this is the most acceptable definition of inflation. Even if you look up economics dictionary, this is the definition given. There is a school of thought which defines inflation as a situation in which too much money chases too few goods. Too much money chases too few goods. Why this is not accepted as a general, why this is not a generally accepted definition? Because it focuses more on demand. When you have too much money chasing too few goods, that means demand is more vis-a-vis supply. So this is the definition of inflation. Now straight away we go on to take up, as I said, the most important aspect of our understanding inflation in India, how it is measured. Correct? So give the heading measurement of inflation in India. Start as follows. Rate of inflation is measured in India on the basis of index numbers. Full stop. The most important measurement is on the basis of CPI as well as WPI, Consumer Price Index, as well as Wholesale Price Index. Full stop. There are however other index numbers also as given below. So what I am going to do is, I am going to write here measure of inflation. Measure or measurement, whatever, right? Index number WPI is the first one. Make a chart like this. Okay? a variant of WPI. A variant of WPI is what we call PPI. It's a variant. We are not measuring it, we are using this to measure this. When I take up this, I'll tell you what is this. Advanced countries are doing this. We have not been able to collect data to measure this, but this is the variant of this. The third one would be CPI, Consumer Price Index. The fourth one would be CPI IW, Industrial Workers. The fifth one would be CPI AL, Agricultural Laborers. And the sixth one would be CPI RW, Rural Workers. Okay? Make a chart like this. Your chart is ready? First is WPI, then you have PPI, Producer Price Index, then you have CPI. The fourth one is CPI IW for Industrial Workers. The fifth one is CPI AL for Agricultural Laborers. And the sixth one is CPI RW, Rural Workers. I have given this chart only because sometimes in multiple choice questions, right, 4 of them are given, and you are asked a question, which organization compiles them? You understand? For us, the last 2 are not to be done at all. You will never find figures of the last 2. I have given this only to tell you that which body compiles each of these index numbers. Have I made myself clear? We are not going to do the last 2. You will never find them in newspapers because they are for specific class of people, agricultural laborers and rural workers. Have I made myself clear? Now, first thing first that you have to write is, against each one of them, what is the base year used to compile these index numbers? All right? WPI. Base year used is 2011-12. That is financial year. Shall I repeat? One of the things you must understand and note about them is that what is the base year we are using to compile each of these index numbers. Once you have written, I'll tell you the importance of base year. Right? So, WPI, we are using base year 2011-12. CPI, we are using base year 2012 calendar year. 11-12 is financial year. I'll repeat, WPI 2011-12, PPI is not a separate index that we are preparing. CPI 2012, CPI IW, no book has given it. I have yet to see your new book, maybe it has given. 2016, CPI IW. The last 2, for both of them, base year is 1986-87, very, very old base year. 1986-87. Okay? Now the next thing that you should write is what sometimes question is asked on that. Which organization is compiling each of these index numbers? WPI. It is compiled by the office of the economic advisor, comma, department for the promotion of industry and internal trade. Department for the promotion of industry and internal trade, comma, Ministry of Commerce and Industry. I'll repeat. WPI is compiled by the Office of the Economic Advisor, Department for the Promotion of Industry and Internal Trade, Ministry of Commerce and Industry. CPI is compiled by NSO, National Statistics Office, which was earlier called CSO. Okay? NSO. CPI IW. Is compiled by Labor Bureau, Ministry of Labor and Employment. Labor Bureau, Ministry of Labor and Employment. And the last two also, Labor Bureau, Ministry of Labor and Employment. Clear? Now, I am going to tell you what is the importance of base year. Base year must be a normal year. And two, it should be, as far as possible, it should be as recent as possible. Because if base year is very old, it will not capture a large number of activities. For example, if for any index the base year is the year 2000, in the year 2000 there was hardly any technology. There were hardly computers, laptops. There has been a drastic transformation in the last 10 or 15 years. So base year, as far as possible, should be as recent as possible. Having said this, government is already on the job of revising the base year for the first two index numbers. The third one, CPI IW, the index, the base was revised just about 2 years back. CPI IW base was 2001. 2 years back it revised to 2016. Have I made myself clear? If you are not clear about this, what is the importance of base year, then I ask you a question. You know Sensex?
Yes, sir.
Sensex. You also know Nifty?
Yes, sir.
What is the value of Sensex today? Or roughly 62,000 something. What is the value of Nifty? About 16 or say 18,000. What? How One is 62,000, another is base year. The base year is because Sensex, which belongs to Bombay Stock Exchange, is a very, very old index. So over the years, the value has gone up. Okay? Whereas Nifty, because National Stock Exchange was set up only in 90s. Okay? Bombay Stock Exchange was set up about a century and a half ago. Okay? So, this is the basic information about index numbers. We have now to start explaining and dictating to you how each of these index numbers, other than the last two, how each of these is compiled. That is the most important thing. Have I made myself clear? So, first let's take a look at WPI. How we compile, what is the methodology adopted to compile WPI? So, you can write methodology to compile WPI. Shall we start? We'll be very slow. This index is compiled on a monthly basis. By taking into account $697 commodities. 697 commodities. Full stop. Professor Vibhash has done GDP deflator with you? GDP has not been done. Then in the first few classes, what does Professor Vibhash do? Micro. Micro means demand curve and so on. Margin utility and so on. Demand and supply. National income. No, that's what I am asking. In national income accounting, he has not talked about GDP. The other professor has done GDP. Professor Reddy. He would be doing. Okay. So please write. So what have you written? This index is compiled on a monthly basis by taking into account 697 commodities. Full stop. Price data. Price data for these commodities is collected on a monthly basis. From major wholesale markets in India. Full stop. This index takes into account only commodities and does not include services at all. Full stop. These 697 commodities are divided into three broad groups. Three broad groups as follows. Here you are writing group, here you are writing commodities, and here you will write weight, W-I-G-H-T. That is CPI-IW. Base year, base price of? Base year. That would depend. That would depend because I am going to ask you, all of you, that when I said that have you read today's newspaper, and some of them said yes, we have read the retail inflation is 4.25%. I am going to ask you, once I ask you, that would be the answer to your question. You understand what I am saying? How do you arrive at 4.25%? I am going to ask, but gradually. You are not satisfied? No. Your question is, base year has been changed from 2001 to 2016. Do you know base year value we always take as equal to 100? Yes or no? Base year value is always taken as equal to 100. So his question is, sir, if base year has changed from 2001 to 2016, right, then 2016 would be treated as 100. That is what you are saying, correct? But that doesn't make a difference. As you will know, that will not make a difference. Difference will not be made at all. Wait patiently. Please wait patiently. You will easily know that it will not make a difference. If you are so panicky, so uncomfortable, I can explain to you straight away. Shall I? Shall I? Okay. Now, please answer this question. How do you get 4.25%? Come on. Today you have got the figure for CPI, and CPI figure says rate of inflation in May 2023 was 4.25% CPI, which is retail inflation. How do you get this? This will answer his question. My dear, let's forget it is CPI, WPI, whatever. Okay? Now, you said that CPI base year is 2012. Say yes or no. 2012 value is treated as equal to 100. Say yes or no. 100 doesn't remain 100. Each month, 100 from 2012 onwards, every month, 100 may have inched up to 105, 120, 130, and by the time it has reached May 2023, maybe the index, the value is about 640. It's all hypothetical. I don't even know the value. So if it was 640 in April 23, of course, and from 640 it has gone up to say 655, hypothetically, 15 upon 640 into 100 will give you this 4.25%. I don't know, but I have just calculated. Actually, it should be, let me put it 675, right? So this would be 25 upon 640, 35, na? 35 upon 640 into, but that comes to a little more. So that's why it's better 665 we put. You understand? If it is 25, then that means 2500 divided by 640 gives you roughly, it should be a little more than that, 4.25%. Have I answered your question? Have you answered so the point is, what is each month, what is the value, right? You are calculating the rate of inflation on a monthly basis. 100 was the base year value. When I gave you a hint, none of you got that hint. I said, how come? Sensex is 62,000 and Nifty is 17,000. You should have got a hint then.
What are the parameters which are taken into consideration while comparing the base years?
Just now I have given you two considerations. Where are you, my dear? Just now I have given you two considerations. One, it should be a normal year. Two, it should be as recent as possible. आप कहाँ थे? This whole chart is gone. Have you prepared the chart? That table? अभी भी satisfied नहीं. Completely satisfied. My dear, when I say that these are the subheads, and when I say you will finish inflation comprehensively, you should trust your teacher. You understand? Because you read newspapers elsewhere, you don't understand. So please prepare the chart, that table. You know, 697 commodities are divided into three broad groups as follows. Correct? Group 1, primary articles. Primary articles. I said there are three groups. I said there are three groups. In fact, this whole thing has gone haywire because this is distorted. This is the, this is the table I gave you. Group 1, primary articles. Don't go by my handwriting. Very bad. After 2 minutes, if you ask me what I wrote, I will not know. Primary articles, right? A, B, C, D. What we include under primary articles? A, food articles. Food articles. B, non-food articles. C, minerals. And D, crude petroleum and natural gas. So that is group 1. I ask you a question. What are primary articles? Those which are derived from nature. My goodness. That also you don't know. Primary means derived from nature. Group 2. Fuel and power. Fuel and power. Don't write horsepower. Fuel and power. That is group 2. A. Mineral oils. Mineral oils. B. Coal. And C. Electricity. Group 3. Manufactured products. Here you need not write because there are so many products which are manufactured. It could be textile, steel, cement, food articles, non-food, right? Okay. Now, most important thing now you are going to understand. The third column. What is that? What is the weight assigned to each group? I'll tell you also the importance. Group 1. Weight assigned is 22.6%. You can round it off to 23. I hope you understand round it off. Roughly, it is actually 22.62. Let's round it off to 23. Fuel and power. Weight assigned is actually 13.15%, but I am rounding it off to 13%. Correct? Let me see your common sense. Then what should be the weight of manufactured products? 64%. Say yes or no. My goodness. Correct? 60? Because it has to be equal to 100. Now use your common sense, which unfortunately is very uncommon here. Answer this question before I start dictating. The behavior of this index, that is the wholesale price, the rate of inflation based on wholesale prices, shall be predominantly determined by what? Manufactured products. Prices of manufactured products. Again, use your common sense. During 2 years of pandemic, should WPI have gone up or gone down? Gone up. It touched 15%. Why? Because there were supply constraints. Prices started shooting up. There were lockdowns everywhere. Say yes or no. Unless you use your common sense, things are going to be difficult while you sit for civil services. Let me tell you. Classes are meant to do, if you ask me, why physical classes? This is surgery. Everything is being put to test for you. So, I'm going to dictate to you that the behavior of this index is predominantly determined by the prices of manufactured products because they have overwhelming weight of 64% in the index. So then we follow up. Please write. the behavior of this index is determined predominantly by the prices of manufactured products as this group has an overwhelming weight of 64% in the index. Full stop. This implies that rate of inflation based on WPI may go up if prices of manufactured products start rising. Full stop. For example, due to the pandemic lasting for 2 years, and supply chain getting distorted, and aggravated by Russia-Ukraine war, resulted in WPI rate of inflation in India for many months ranging between 10 to 15%. Full stop. As supply constraints started easing, WPI rate of inflation fell dramatically, and even became negative in April 2023. May figure you will get today. So you will get the May figure. When you reach home, I am sure May figure would be there on right. Full stop. This index is of great significance for corporates, statisticians and chartered accountants. As it gauges the profitability of the corporate sector in India. As well as its ability to absorb rising costs, which may be caused by supply constraints, from time to time. Constraints from time to time. Rate of inflation based on WPI may also, to some extent, be impacted due to rising food prices. Because food has a weight of 23% in the index. Put a dash. 14% primary food articles, 14% primary food articles, and 9% manufactured food products. Full stop. Rate of inflation based on WPI. Rate of inflation based on WPI is recorded at, leave it blank, you will see in the night. What was it in May? Rate of inflation based on WPI is recorded at the percentage leave in May 2023, because each month's figures come in between 10th and 15th of. So I am 200% sure that one day you get retail inflation, the next day you get WPI. Okay. Now I said that a variant of WPI is PPI. Let me explain to you what is PPI before I dictate. You know, I saw 3 days back producer price index, the rate of inflation based on PPI in China fell by 4%, 4.4%. Let me explain to you before I start dictating. Most advanced countries have given up compiling WPI. Let me tell you, every country compiles CPI. Be it America, be it Britain, be it Eurozone, be it China, CPI is compiled by every country. But some years back, every country was also compiling, but most advanced countries have given up compilation of WPI and switched over to compiling PPI. First, let me explain. Now, what is PPI? What is the difference between PPI and WPI? PPI is compiled on the basis of prices at which producers sell their products before these products reach the market. Okay? I repeat, PPI is compiled on the basis of prices which producers receive for their products, or prices at which producers sell their products before these products reach the market. Correct? Why advanced countries switched over from WPI to PPI? The principal objective has been that if prices start showing a rising trend at the producer's level itself, corrective measures can be adopted by policy makers to arrest these rising prices so that by the time they reach the final consumer, some moderation can be done in terms of prices at the consumer's level. That was the idea. So I'll dictate this whole thing, right? India, we set up an expert committee. I can give you the name, but in exam, don't scratch your head remembering the name, because that may consume time. Rather, you confuse the examiner by saying an expert committee. Let him think, who is this expert? You understand? Of course, I can tell you, in fact, it was one Goldhar and then it was Abhijit Sen. Abhijit Sen died about 6 months back at the age of 73. So, government set up a committee to consider the feasibility of compiling PPI in India. Correct? This committee came to the conclusion that production structure in India is not as organized as it is in advanced countries. It's very heterogeneous and a large chunk of production structure is unorganized. So this committee observed that it would be very difficult to get reliable data to construct and compile PPI. So it recommended that the existing WPI can be used as PPI by subtracting from WPI excise duties. Use your common sense. What does it mean? You remember we did excise duty? What did you write? You said excise duty is imposed on the manufacturer before he can take his goods out of the factory premises. Correct? So if you exclude excise duty, obviously you are talking about producer prices. All right? So I have explained this whole thing. So please write. Most advanced countries Most advanced countries have given up compilation of WPI in the last few years. And switched over to compiling an index called PPI, Producer Price Index. Full stop. This index is compiled on the basis of prices at which producers sell their products. Full stop. The objective of compiling PPI is that if prices start showing a rising trend, at the producer's level, comma, corrective measures may be adopted at this level itself so that prices can be moderated before they reach the final consumer. Full stop. An expert committee was set up in India to consider the feasibility of compiling PPI. Full stop. This committee observed that production structure in India is very heterogeneous as well as comprises a huge unorganized sector due to which it may not be possible to have reliable data to compile PPI. Full stop. The committee, however, recommended that the existing WPI may be treated as PPI by subtracting from the WPI excise duties. So I have dictated this because you should know. Okay? So you have understood that rate of inflation is measured on the basis of the difference in the value in a month vis-a-vis previous month's value. So the difference upon the previous month's value multiplied by 100. That's how you calculate the rate of inflation. I think I told you very clearly. Otherwise, in most cases that I have observed, in practically every batch, this is the problem. They have not understood how do you arrive at 4.25%, because 100 doesn't remain 100. Value keeps going up. So, increase in the value in a month over previous month's value multiplied by 100, right? Okay. Before I take up CPI, it is important for me to also tell you what is the difference between base year and base effect. Sometimes, for example, today's newspaper has given two figures. One, retail inflation, CPI, two, factory output figure. It says factory output has gone up by a little over 4%. And the statement says that this increase in factory output is also due to low base. You understand? So base effect is different from base year. To make sure that you have understood this, I am giving you something very interesting. Take a look at this. This chart has to be prepared even for CPI, but items are going to be totally different. Now, just hypothetically, 2018, 2019, 2020, 2021, 2022, just hypothetical. Index value was 100, went up to 120, went up to 140, 160, 180. You've got 5 years, right? If you have to calculate rate of inflation in 2019, what would you do? 20 upon 100 into 100. Rate of inflation would be? Correct? If you have to calculate for 2020, you would say 20 upon 120 into 100. Say yes or no. So it will be 200 upon 12, roughly 16.5 shall I put? Right. If you have to calculate it for 2021, you would say 20 upon 140 into 100. Yes or no? Have you noticed? Value is going up by the same point, 20. Rate of inflation is coming because the base was high. So base effect means rate of inflation in the previous year or previous month. Any doubts that you have? This is the best way to explain to a layman what is the difference between base year and base effect. Base effect means what was the rate of inflation or rate of increase in factory output in the previous month or in the previous year. If the previous base was low or high, the next year may be low. If it was low, for example, when you say factory output is gone up in May, in April it had gone down. You understand? So that is the difference between base year and base effect. Base effect means if what was the rate in the previous month or year, whichever is the base you are taking into. Clear? Shall we start CPI? Yes. No. In PPI, we are including some services, not the way we are including in CPI. In PPI, we have started including some services. No, WPI no, yes. So please write CPI. No. Of the total 23% in the primary articles, 14% is primary articles relating to food. Rest of them comprise only 9%. Non and BCD. Similarly, in manufactured products, 9% weight is assigned to manufactured food products. All right? Okay. So let's start explaining to you how we compile consumer price index, which means you are going to write methodology for compiling CPI. This index is also compiled. All of a sudden he has switched on this, isn't it? Just ask him to switch off this. This Bhaiya, who is Bhaiya? This index is also compiled on a monthly basis by taking into account. This index is also compiled on a monthly basis by taking into account (908) commodities, 908 commodities. Full stop. Price data for these commodities. Price data for these commodities is collected. At the retail level. At the retail level, on the basis of consumer expenditure surveys conducted by the NSSO, which is now again merged with NSO. I think you know it. NSSO has also been merged with, earlier it was called National Sample Survey Organization. Full stop. This index also includes services like transport and communication, health, education, banking, insurance, recreation, and a few other services. Full stop. These 908 commodities and services are divided into 6 broad groups. 6 broad groups as follows. Again, make the table like that. The only difference would be you will not have in group A, B, C, D. There will be 6 different groups. You will not have like primary articles, you have A, B, C, D. No. Group will be group in itself. Have I made myself clear? So, first column would be groups, second would be what are the commodities including, and the third column would be what is the weight assigned. Okay? You got the table? Shall we start? Group 1, food and beverages. Food and beverages. Group 2, clothing and footwear. Clothing and footwear. Group 3, housing. Group 4, fuel and light. Group 5, this is going to surprise you. Group 5, pan, beetle, bida, Banarsi pan, don't write Banarsi, pan, please write, pan, tobacco, pan ki spelling is pan. Pan, tobacco, and other intoxicants. My dear, You dare not ignore bevadas in the country. You understand? How can you ignore bevadas? Pan, tobacco and other intoxicants. And last group is miscellaneous. Don't write miss alone. Miscellaneous. Okay? Now let's take a look at the weights. Use your common sense. Which group would be having the highest weight? I won't be surprised. Please write. Weight 46%. Group 1. 46%. Food and beverages. Clothing and footwear 6.5%. I want to tell you, weights of other groups are not important, as important as the first group and the last group. Right? So don't scratch your head in the exam, oh, what was the weights? Right? Even if you write little below 7%, your attempt should be to confuse the examiner. You understand? 6.5%. Housing 10%. Housing 10%. Housing 10%. Your attempt should not be to confuse me. Okay. Housing 10%. Although I am getting confused by some of guys here. Housing 10%, fuel and light 6.8%. 6.8%. And you will be you will be sad to know 2.4% only. 2.4%. And the last group, which one? Yes, it is 28.3%. 28 because this group, the last group, includes services. And you cannot deny that in a common man's budget, right, services have a great role. Right? Okay. So, you've got the grouping, you've got weights. Please now start writing. But before you write, I want to tell you something interesting which you will not. Now, every 5 years, consumer expenditure survey is conducted. Every 5 years. The last one was conducted in 2011-12. Listen to it carefully. There was another survey conducted in 2017-18. Government dumped its findings. Why? Because that survey showed that poverty in India had gone up. And there was this NDA government. It never wanted to, project that during its 4 years, 14 to right, poverty would have gone up. So all the findings of that survey were dumped. So the next survey is due, but it cannot be organized. You cannot get the reports of the next, already it's on, but you will not get the figures before 24 December. Because 24 May are elections. No, these are facts which I have been reading. So I am sharing with you. Otherwise, which means for all purposes you should know that findings of 2011-12 consumer expenditure surveys data has been extrapolated. Otherwise, how do you know? Isn't it? So there is always a scope. if you are extrapolating the data, there is always a scope for some wrong this thing, but that's how statisticians are doing. Okay. So I thought I'll share with you, because I have read the latest report on consumer expenditure survey, which government has kicked off, but you will not get, because it takes at least 6 to 8 months to compile results. All right? Okay. So let's start writing about this CPI. Please write. Rate of inflation based on CPI is called headline inflation by the RBI. Headline inflation by the RBI. So my dear, tomorrow you are asked what is headline inflation, you should be able to answer. Clear? Rate of inflation based on CPI is called headline inflation by the RBI. Full stop. This index has close to 50% weight given to food and beverages group, which implies that this is the weight in terms of importance of food and beverages for a common man. Full stop. In terms of for a common man. As such, behavior of this index that is CPI rate of inflation is determined predominantly by prices of food articles in the country. Full stop. In recent years, there has been a significant change within the food articles group due to fast changing consumption patterns in favor of high protein food items like eggs, meat, fish, chicken, and such items whose rising prices may have contributed from time to time to high rate of CPI inflation. Full stop. It is also important to understand that in the last few years, rising cost of services like health, education, transportation. When you write transportation, after that put in brackets rising fuel prices. Close the bracket, comma, communication, have also been responsible for adding to inflationary pressures. Full stop. Have been responsible for adding to inflationary pressures. Full stop. For 10 months together, from January to October 2022, comma, rate of inflation based on CPI remained above 6% and going beyond 7% in some months. Mainly because of supply constraints, so that rising demand was not met. Full stop. The RBI adopted inflation targeting as a principal objective of its monetary policy from the year 2016, under which it is mandated to keep average annual rate of inflation based on CPI up to 4% with the flexibility of 2% plus or minus. Full stop. This implies that CPI rate of inflation above 6% is beyond the comfort zone of the RBI. Prompting the RBI to raise its repo rate full stop, as CPI inflation remained above 6% for 10 months. For 10 months, I've already given the repo rate was hiked by the RBI 5 times. Raising it from 4% to 6.5%. Full stop. Whatever you have written so far, please read before I give the final touches. Sorry. Even today's newspaper, if you read inflation, I'll give you figures also. April rate of inflation was 4.7%. May rate of inflation is 4.25%. Right? March rate of inflation was 6.1%. Right? If you read today's newspaper also, it says rate of inflation CPI has fallen because of moderation in food prices, mainly. Right? Then of course, a few other, because what you have written is some very important things, that you cannot deny consumption patterns are changing. Now there is hardly any locality, low class, middle class or high class, where you don't have a gym. Everybody has become gym conscious. So if you have become gym conscious, you are diet conscious. So high protein items prices also determine, rate of CPI inflation. Then you cannot deny health costs may have gone up, education costs may have gone up, transportation costs are coming, right? They would have also contributed. Then you have written that RBI adopted to keep rate of inflation within a certain range. First it said it will not allow rate of inflation to increase 4%, but then it kept a flexibility 2% plus or minus, which means the comfort zone of the RBI was up to 6%. For 10 months together, January to October, because those are again, things had not normalized. So rate of inflation was hovering above 6%. So starting from July 2022 till October 2022, 5 times RBI raised the repo rate, raising it from 4% in July to 6.5%. I will tell you what is repo rate once I take up measures to control inflation. All right? Okay. So I'm also going to give you a separate write-up on when inflation targeting was adopted as an objective by the RBI, which committee recommended that India should adopt inflation targeting, which country was the first one to adopt inflation targeting, how exactly you define inflation targeting. I have already given you a subhead. So hereafter you can easily keep a watch on newspaper reports, both as they come for WPI as well as for CPI. So you can correlate what you have written, right? So you will get the answer. Okay. Now start a last para. Just write the divergence between WPI, the divergence between WPI and CPI is attributed to factors like composition of the index, comma, weights assigned to different groups, comma, exclusion oblique inclusion of services. I mean, one excludes services, the other includes services. Exclusion oblique inclusion of services. But WPI excludes services. CPI, comma, one based on wholesale prices, one based on wholesale prices. And the other on retail prices. Comma, indirect taxes, and retailers' margins. Retailers' margins. Is that clear? Right? So, this is WPI, CPI. Let's take a look now. What is CPI IW? There is no table here. No book has given it so far. I don't know whether the recent XIS book has given, I doubt. Right? So let's take a look. What is CPI IW? I am going to dictate. There is no table here. I'll only give you the changes that have taken place when the base year was revised about a year and a half and 2 years back. What other changes were there? Please write. This index is of great significance for the economy. As it determines the cost of living practically for the entire organized workforce in India. Comprising industrial workers, bank employees, insurance sector employees, as well as employees of other organized financial institutions. Full stop. It is this index which is also used by the central government. It is this index which is also used by the central government for giving DA, you know, dearness allowance, to its employees and pensioners. To its employees and pensioners. It is this index which is used by the central government also for granting DNS allowance to its employees and pensioners. Full stop. 4 important changes have been carried out in the compilation of this index, which are as follows. Number 1, base year. Base year for compiling the index has been revised from 2001 to 2016. Two, weight given to food articles. Weight given to the food group, say, weight given to the food group has been brought down from 46% to 39%, keeping in view Engel's law of consumption, ENGEL''S, keeping in view Engel's law of consumption, according to which as incomes rise, expenditure on food declines. Third change, weight assigned to health and education services. Health and education services in the miscellaneous group has been raised from 23% to 30%. 23% to 30% in view of the rising cost of these services. And the last change, fourth, weight assigned to housing. Weight assigned to housing has been raised from 15% to 17%. 15%, 70% in view of rising cost of housing. Now, I have given this because to my mind, no book has given even the change of the base year. I mean, I have not seen in any book CPI, IW being given. So I told you that effectively we have done 4: WPI, PPI, CPI and because nowhere, never you will get figures. I gave you AL, RW because in multiple choice you are asked questions. Which agency compiles them? So I am sure hereafter, in fact, tomorrow itself in newspapers, you will see WPI. Right? And my hunch is that, okay, I ask a question of common sense. Should WPI be more than CPI or the other way around? WPI should be lower than CPI. But you believe me, it was for the first time ever that we found, because of 2 years of pandemic, WPI rate of inflation I have never seen in my memory touching 15%. Why? Because it is predominated by manufactured products. All right, the entire supply chain was disrupted. You were not even getting inputs. And the whole thing was aggravated when in February 22, Russia-Ukraine war started. We were hardly trying to grapple with the pandemic when this was an add-on misery, isn't it? So, I'm sure when you hereafter read, be it CPI or WPI, I'm sure you will not have any problem understanding, not only because you have the groups before you, but also the weights which actually are determinants predominantly. Okay? So, I said this is the most important component for us to understand the entire, entire thing about inflation in India. All right? So I think next is for us to take up causes of inflation. Again, very interesting. And yes.
Sir, how rise in income leads to expenditure on food item decline?
I ask you a question. If your incomes are rising, will you not go for items other than food? Who is concentrating on food? Those people having low incomes, most of their income is spent on food. But as your income starts rising, you start diversifying into clothing, into other luxury items and so on.
But sir, we will diversify in food as well.
Sorry?
We will diversify in food as well. As in, suppose
No. You may not diversify in food specially. In fact, if that, because Engel's law of consumption is very correct. It says with rising incomes, your overall expenditure on food may decline. Now, that is why IW has reduced the weightage from 46% to 39%. All right? So, it's a fact. Undoubtedly, it's a fact.
sir, if expenditure on food items are declined, as an individual at the micro level, if we consider it, so sir, an individual is not focusing much on
Not micro. You are confining yourself to industrial sector. You are not taking into account, micro is CPI. You understand? Right. Now, to make sure that you understand causes, I give you a simple, take a look at this. What is this? Demand curve. What is this? Supply. Price is determined by the intersection of demand and, you agree? If you agree, then you should also agree that any price is a function of demand and supply. Following that, you should also agree that if you have to identify causes of inflation, you have to identify causes which affect demand on the one hand and causes which affect supply oblique cost. You understand? So, be it any country in the world, inflation is determined by factors which may influence demand, which means due to which demand for goods and services in general may go up. At the same time, inflation in any country in the world is also influenced by factors which result in shortfall in supply and or increase in costs of production or distribution. Have I made myself clear? That is why factors which affect demand are called demand pull factors, and factors which affect cost oblique supply are called cost push factors. So keep this in mind. It's not supply shortfall can take place either due to shortages of goods or services, and or it can take place due to rising costs both of production and distribution. I give you a small hint. Of course, we'll analyze one by one, identify demand pull factors in the Indian context and cost push factors in the Indian context. But just to give you a hint, about a year and a half back, I think July 22, was it? Yeah, still a year. Was it more than a year when Modi government announced what is called Gati Shakti plan? Gati Shakti. And then I think July last year it announced what is called National Logistics Policy. Am I right? Why? I am quoting Modi himself. There's a quote. He said that logistic costs in India are at least 20% higher. It's not 20% higher. They're at least 40% higher. If you ask me, I have seen infrastructure abroad, and the kind of infrastructure we see here is very poor. Why is it that Gadkari says in next 2 years roads in India would be like the US? Why? Why is he saying so? Your connectivity is being improved. He is one man who is completely dedicated to improving and strengthening India's infrastructure. He doesn't go about criticizing anybody, right? So try and understand, logistics are a very important component of overall costs. Why is it Amazon so successful? Logistics, right? So when we take up factors on the demand side and factors on the cost side, keep in mind that there could be shortfall in supply due to some factors, but in India, I would say there is also increase in costs for a large, my dear, we are so unscrupulous, unfortunately. During the pandemic, people were hoarding life-saving medicines, oxygen cylinders. If they can do that, they might as well be hoarding anything every day. And I said today's newspaper says after 15 years, the last stock limit was imposed on wheat in 2008. 2023, government has imposed stock limits on traders. How much stock can they hold in their stores? This is one part. Normally, not only that they are supposed to, because there is an act in India called Essential Commodities Act, not only that they are allowed to hold a limited stock as laid down by the government, but going a step further, they have to display for public information on a daily basis what is the stock lying in their stores. Otherwise, you can imagine, they can easily fool people. You have seen quite a few old Hindi films where baniyas are hoarding and poor villagers are going and there is no stock. Yes or no? So we'll take a look at factors which in India from time to time result in increase in demand, and factors which are responsible for rising costs and or shortfall in supply. So please start writing. inflation in any country in the world, inflation in any country in the world may be caused. You may be wondering, why am I using the word maybe?
Because it is not certain. Or there are other factors.
In economics, in social science, we always use the word maybe. Why maybe? Because of ceteris paribus, other things remaining constant. In physical science, we never say. In physical science, you throw the ball up, it will surely fall on the ground. In economics, you throw the ball up, Sita Raman may catch it here. You understand? So please, right. Lady Sita Raman, astute economist. Astute in inverted commas. Astute in inverted commas. Oh, she is also listening there. Please, write. What have you written? Inflation in any country in the world may be caused by factors due to which demand for goods and services, demand for goods and services in general may be rising, and factors due to which there may be shortfall in supply of goods and services, there may be shortfall in the supply of goods and services, and oblique or increase in costs, increase in costs of production oblique distribution. Okay, full stop. At any given point of time, factors affecting demand may be more potent than those affecting supply, may be more potent than those affecting supply, or the other way around, or the other way around. Full stop. Factors which affect demand, factors which affect demand are called demand pull factors, demand dash pull factors. And those which affect supply are called cost push factors. Cost push factors. Full stop. See, now since we are concerned with India, So please write prominent, prominent, demand pull, and cost push factors. In India, from time to time, may be as follows. Okay? So first we'll take a look one by one. I'll give you heading. Most of the demand pull factors are relatively easy. You will understand. So please write. So first I'm giving you a list of demand pull factors. One, everybody knows. Don't write that. Everybody knows. Such a simple thing. Common sense is very uncommon. Rising population, my dear. You have gone beyond China. Say yes or no. Correct? 2. Rising incomes and wages. Rising incomes and wages, including those under welfare programs. Three, fast changing consumption patterns. Fast changing consumption patterns resulting in rising demand for high protein items. Four. Next, role of black money. Role of black money and parallel economy. Five, increase in government expenditure particularly revenue expenditure. Six, increase in money supply. And seven, increase in forex reserves. Okay, identify which one you have not understood. Okay.
How would they affect the demand?
You have written role of black money and Do you know, I think 7 years back, there was a short question in civil services. The question was, why is black money economy called parallel economy?
This economy is like not in the eyes of the government. Neither it can.
First thing first, can you deny that we have tons of black money in India? Can you deny? There is no property deal which takes place in India without black and white. First thing first, you ask the person, kitna black hoga, kitna white hoga? Yes or no? Then there is huge unorganized sector. And if you go by the IMF, it says black money may account for close to 50% of India's GDP. Never make a statement close to 50% of India's GDP is black. You understand? That be a dangerous statement. Right? So why is black money economy called parallel economy? Very simple and yet difficult. It's called parallel because black money economy operates side by side with white money economy. And at any given point of time, it becomes difficult to distinguish how much is black and how much is white. I ask you a question. You construct your house. Nobody on earth can, find out how much black money you have used in the construction of your house. And let me tell you, there has never been a precise estimate of black money in any economy. Never. German economist Fiege once said that if you want to calculate black money, you take for 3 years what is the extent of white money transactions. Any deviation from that would mean that much is black money. All right, okay. But then how are rising forex reserves responsible for how? How? Sorry? Yes. When dollars, pounds, euros come into India, they are using rupees. So more the dollars, more the euros, more the domestic currency that RBI has to print and give. Right? So that causes, my dear, shall I tell you something very interesting? There have been countries, China particularly, which have tried to sterilize rising forex reserves. Sterilize means that as forex reserves start rising, they start causing increase in domestic money supply, and they result in potential for inflation. So what some countries do, China particularly, India also did it during Raghuram Rajan's time, that they would try to sterilize these reserves by liberalizing the use of forex. For example, India, when it experiences rising forex reserves, it may say corporates can invest more abroad in terms of foreign exchange. Right? Individuals can carry more dollars abroad. They may start liberalizing imports. Somewhere in India also it happened once that you are an exporter, you have earned dollars. Within 2 months you have to bring back these dollars back to India, convert them into rupees. There have been times when RBI would tell exporters, keep your dollars parked abroad, don't bring them home. You understand? So this is what we call sterilization of forex reserves, particularly money supply, so that it doesn't cause inflation. So rising forex reserves have inherent potential to increase domestic money supply and in the process result in more money in the economy and having potential to cause inflation. Is that clear? So next time when we meet, we'll take up cost push factor. Right? Okay. By the way, Saturday there won't be any class, no? Because they have that function, no? They are facilitating those who have, qualified civil services, right, on the 17th. That is Saturday. All right? Okay.